Welcome to Tears to Transformation. I'm your host, Shaun T. Today's episode addresses a story that touches one of the deepest levels of human pain and the extraordinary power of personal resilience. Our guest and my friend, Aliza Mooney, has faced a heartbreak that many fear, but few can imagine: losing a child. Through her journey, Aliza has transformed her grief into a force for good, establishing a legacy that transcends her personal loss. I want to give a disclaimer that this episode does talk about substance abuse and mentions of suicide and is dedicated to anyone who has felt the sting of such loss. I hope it provides you not only a narrative of overcoming such pain, but also practical pathways for healing and hope, because that's what this show is about. So stay with us as we explore how a mother turns her grief into action and how we can illuminate the darkest of times. Here's Aliza's story.
My name's Aliza Mooney and I'm from Washington State. So mine is not like a physical transformation. Mine is definitely more of while I've had some physical transformation, mine's more definitely an internal transformation. My daughter Jordan, she passed away in January of 2018 from a drug overdose. And that was after several years of battling mental health and substance use disorder and going through those systems. I went through a time where I definitely didn't see myself unvaluable anymore. I didn't see that I had anything to contribute. I had a lot of thoughts about ending things. When she passed away in January of 2018, that day I spoke with a community member, somebody who was connected with Jordan. It was when I was telling her that Jordan had passed away, that we had lost Jordan. I said, this isn't going to be in vain. We're going to do something with this. And we're still going to use Jordan's story to help others. I don't have a physical transformation and I don't look like the typical person that has done Shaun T workouts maybe. That maybe if there's somebody out there who thinks that the Shaun T workouts aren't for them, or that maybe they can't do certain things or can't accomplish certain things, that maybe they can look at me and go, hey, there's somebody that looks like me. Hey, there's somebody that has been through similar things. I hate to think that there's somebody out there that's listening to this that has also lost a child, because I don't wish that on anybody, but maybe that's what they need to hear.
Aliza, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Thank you so much for being here.
Wow.
It's very important for you to understand, if you're watching or listening, that a lot of times, especially when people see me, we only think about physical transformation. And this show obviously is about mental transformation, physical transformation, but today we are going to dive into internal transformation. We're going to talk about the fitness because my girl Aliza works out, but we're going to talk about internal transformation. So stick with us, be patient, and really open your hearts as we get to this story. So Aliza, first of all, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on this show. We've known each other. We've talked a lot about this issue one-on-one, and I really wanted you to be here because, we've had some moments, and I just know that from the core of who you are, you believe and know that you can help people through your own struggles and your own pain and your own resilience. And in addition to that, the things that you are doing literally today for your mind, body, and soul, I think will just be completely inspiring for a lot of people. So I just want to say thank you and tell you that I love you very much and appreciate you being here. The loss of a child. This is something that most parents cannot even fathom, and there's so much that goes into that. So I just want to open up the floor so that you can talk about Jordan, talk about the journey, and be as transparent as you need to be to help yourself, me, and the listeners and watchers through it.
Yeah, when people say like they can't imagine losing a child, you cannot. And nor would I want you to, and nor would any parent who has lost a child want you to. Before I lost my daughter, Jordan, I did have friends who had gone through that loss or family members who had gone through that loss. And I remember saying those same things to them, like, I can't imagine. And, until you've gone through it yourself, you can't. There's so much that goes into it. And it's a loss that you feel forever. I'm 6.5 years out from it. And while it's not as strong as it was immediately after, obviously, there's still moments like, every holiday, there's things that come up as I watch her friends grow, and, I wonder what if, as different milestones, when she should have graduated, as I watch her friends have babies, I think, where would she be today? What would she be doing? Just went on a trip. I went on my first cruise ever. And on one of the excursions, I was talking with this mom and daughter, and the mom reached over, and it was an adult daughter, but she was like, yeah, my daughter's my best friend. And it just hit me like in the gut, and instant tears, and it was just one of those moments where, that wave of grief kind of hits you out of the blue. There's moments you can prepare for, the anniversaries, the birthdays, the holidays, but then there's little moments like that where it's just like, I don't have my child. I don't have my daughter here. I won't get to travel the world with her or get to have those experiences with her. And it sucks. There's no other way to say it. It sucks that your child's not here. It sucks that you don't have that person. And while other grief is similar, it's totally different when it's a child, because it's just, a parent should never, ever outlive their child.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
I know it's deep. I listened to a podcast once where the host was taking us through this story of someone losing someone. And the guest was saying that she would get really annoyed when people would say, are you over it yet? Or like, have you gotten past it? And she's
Yeah.
like, he's never coming back. So why do you think, and while it is very different, even with people that I've lost in my life, it's kind of like they're still with me. I'm like, I still have the legacy of my grandparents, which, I talk about a
Yeah.
lot. And so when you go to therapy, it's like, oh, I feel good. Like but the parts of your past are still with you because they still happen. As much as you're comfortable, can you talk about the struggles that Jordan had?
Jordan was molested at a young age. So at about 7 years old, she was molested by a family member. And when she was about 13 years old, there was some triggers that kind of went on. And I noticed a change in her pretty quickly. I just noticed something wasn't right. And discovered that she was cutting and self-harming herself, and got her into therapy quickly, and discovered that beyond cutting, she was actually making suicide attempts, and unbeknownst to me, and kind of got pushed really quickly into the mental health world and started navigating that. As we went through all of that, you get put on different medications. You're trying to find a therapist that she, would click with. She would get, connected with one. And unfortunately, we live in an area where therapists, especially for young adults, they move a lot. As soon as you get a good therapist, they move out of town. And so she went through like 4 therapists in 1 year. Which is a lot when especially when you're sharing such a vulnerable story like molestation and sex abuse. And, she would just feel like she had to reopen these scars over and over again. She would just get to a point where she felt comfortable and safe with somebody, and it's like, oh, I got to start all over. So she was really struggling, just to find, a safe therapist to work with. Was getting just put on all these different medications, which that's a whole different roller coaster. Then we were in and out of, I say we, like I was in there, but I was right along
there.
in the journey with
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
But she was in and out of inpatient, for different attempts. And that's a whole, that system, if you've ever navigated it, if anybody's listening to this or watching this, that's a whole struggle in and of itself. And so I got a crash course in mental health system and youth mental health system, which there's a whole lot of gaps in. And, just having to struggle to get her the services she needs. And I mean, I would say I'm upper middle class. I had good health insurance. And I had to go out and get private health insurance just to get her double health insurance so that we could get, even
Adequate care.
adequate care for her. Around 14, she started to self-medicate with marijuana. And it wasn't like, okay, occasionally she was smoking. She was using marijuana 8 to 10 times a day. She was addicted. It was her way of just numbing and checking out. And so then we got, we're not only navigating now the mental health, now we're using, we're having to navigate the substance use system as well, which is very common. It's very common for people who are dealing with mental health to now, self-medicate, and now they've got substance use disorder. And so now we're navigating those systems. She's a teenager, dealing with mental health, dealing with substance use. We're, navigating also the juvenile system because she's getting herself in some trouble. And so through all of this, we're seeing the gaps in the system. These systems aren't talking to each other. They're not working together. And Jordan was smart. Jordan is smart, funny. I don't want people to just think that she was just an addict or she was just somebody who had mental health. She was so much more. But one thing, she's wicked smart. And so she could see me struggling to get her care. She could see me, she could see these gaps in the system. And one thing we always said is once she was in a stable place, we were going to turn around and use our story to help others. We're navigating this. We're, trying to go through all of the system. And I remember there was one point where I was basically told by, people that I was struggling to get care for her was like, it would be better off if I quit my job, didn't have insurance, cut off my insurance and was on state care because then she could get this better, could get better care. And I was like, how is that the best option for my child? Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, help me make sense of this. Like, none of this makes sense. And that was about 5 or 6 months before she passed away. I'd say about 9 months before she passed away, she went to an inpatient center that was supposed to be a 60-day inpatient center. And our insurance covered, I want to say covered, they paid about 50% of it. We paid the other half out of pocket. At the 30-day mark, because, the people in inpatient, they're having to tell insurance, like, okay, they're doing better, but not good enough. They have to play this game with insurance, basically, like they're doing better, but not good enough to get out. And basically at 30 days, insurance is like, well, she's doing better. Go ahead and get her out of there. They're not going to cover it anymore, even though it's a 60-day program. And she was finally doing so well in that program. Like, I always wonder, like, what if she had gotten the full 60 days? That's one of my big what if moments. Like, what if she had stayed the full 60 days? But I simply couldn't cover it. Like, I want to say it was like $600 a day. And I'm like, how am I going to, like, that's just not, it's just not an option,
Thanks for sharing that. I know it's a lot to kind of process and go through. One of the questions that I was going to ask you is, what do you say to parents that say, how could you not do enough? But I can't ask you that question because you did everything you could and you were inside the system. I think the one thing, even though you were obviously very hands-on as a parent, is were there any warning signs like leading up that you could have parents look out for, or maybe just talk to how you were able to support her through this process? Because hearing about how tough the process is, even with having enough finances to help along, what are some of the emotional support things that you were able to maneuver with her that parents could actually help.
Here's what I need people to understand is that I never thought in a million years that I would have a child who, not only, so she's addicted to marijuana, and then on her 15th birthday, the person who's giving her marijuana says, hey, for your birthday, why don't you try meth? And so for her 15th birthday, she becomes a meth addict. And then, 66 days after her 16th birthday, passes away of a meth overdose. I never in a million years would have thought that addiction would touch my life in that way, until it walked into my door looking like my child. But what I will say is, like, I knew the signs, and I asked her I was just very honest. Thankfully, we had always had very honest communication. And so I was just very upfront, and I said, hey, are you using meth? No. And I'm like, no judgment, but are you?
Yeah.
And I think just having a home where there's no judgment, they know that they're safe and loved. Like, I just always kept my home open. They always knew the light was on. They always knew that they could come home. It's oftentimes you want to default as a parent and get mad. Like, why are you this way? And you want to almost like discipline. And you can't discipline it out of them because it's not, they're going through something far deeper. It's not a discipline issue. They're dealing with something else. And so I think you need to approach it more with a love. It needs to be approached with love. It needs to be approached with, there's no stigma here. Like, other people are struggling with it, and let's get you help. Let's get you the services that you need. Let's start, and just knowing like, hey, you have somebody here that's got your back and is going to support you through this.
Yeah, I think I use the word problem with society in general, whether it's, substance abuse, addiction, mental health, sexuality.
Yeah.
Like, it's what I find to be very, I'm just gonna say annoying, is that there are close to 7 billion people in the world, and people don't understand that first of all, there's no such thing as normal. I feel like that. Like, we're all unique, but like, yes, there's this through line that's like, this is what people should be, but I just hate when people are surprised but these things can happen.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to commend you on keeping the lights on, always having a home, and reacting, and I should say responding in a way that was immediately loving, because not everyone gets that. Yeah. I know you went through some denial. Let's talk about that, because that's a stage of grief that people truly don't understand.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, the first year I think it was shock and denial. Like, I was so protected by shock still. I think it was so new, it was so fresh. And I just threw myself into, like I talked about earlier, I had reached out to somebody that night and I said, we're going to make something of this. That was Shannon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had reached out to Shannon and, one, let her know that Jordan had passed, and said, we're going to make something of this. We're going to, do something with us. I don't know what it is yet. And she said, call me when you're ready. Well, I called her 4 weeks later. Probably shouldn't have been ready 4 weeks later, but I was already ready with a whole list of things like, here's the gaps in the system, here's things that we need to tackle. And that's what I threw myself into, which I don't think is so much a negative thing. I think it's part of like a survival. Like, when you're facing such an enormous grief, to put it outward, to like, okay, I have all of this grief and I have all this love that I need to focus somewhere. I have all of these emotions that I need to focus somewhere. I chose to focus it outwards. And in that is what the Jordan Project became. And so the first year I focused on that, and we, started building the Beacon, which, our goal was to get that up and running. And that was the weekly youth support meeting. And our goal was have that up and running within 6 months of Jordan passing away. And we did that. And it's still running weekly to today. And then, that turned into something bigger with the Jordan Project and 501c3.
Congratulations.
But,
I know that's
thank you. It's a lot. I thought that was, the big hurdle was just getting, our nonprofit and becoming official. But then it's like, after that, it's like, a whole lot more comes with it. But, after that time of denial, I think the second year hit, And I had to start coming to terms with, she's really gone. Like, she's really not here and she's not coming back. And this started to hit, and I think I kept trying to fake that I was okay, because everybody was so focused on, like, you're so strong. I wanted to be strong for everybody else, but inside I was a mess, complete mess.
Yeah.
And I would put on this mask, go to work, show up on social media, but inside I was dying inside. I think sorry.
No, don't be. You know you don't have to be sorry.
I know. But like inside all those emotions, like I was lonely. Me and my spouse at the time, like he was checked out, because he was going through his own grief journey.
Of course.
And so I had nobody to really share that, like, I'm hurting, was hurting, and I wasn't doing okay. And so at that time, I turned to, I'm an emotional eater, but then I've had to come to terms with I'm actually a binge eater. And so I turned to food, and I was trying to fill that hole of, like, my daughter being gone with food, and I gained a lot of weight. But I was still trying to let everybody know that I was fine. I'm good. I'm strong. Look at me. I'm doing the beacon and doing all this great stuff, and I'm fine. Then year 3 came around, and the cracks started to show, especially the people closest to me. I had a couple relationships that were almost lost. A lot of that was just, I had so much going on that I was starting to take things out, and my emotions, my grief, they have to go somewhere. You can't, not address things.
They're seeping out in some way.
They come out somewhere.
Yeah.
You can't deny, and you can't hide from your emotions forever. They're going to come out somewhere in some way. And if you don't deal with them in a healthy way, they're going to come out in a toxic way. I mean, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I was with a therapist that wasn't pushing me, that I was basically snowballing, and also lying to that therapist. I'm fine. I'm doing great. I'm doing all these things.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
You're doing everything on paper. You're showing up everywhere you need to go, but the internal self is way more
I was a
powerful.
mess. Oh, I was a mess. I was a big mess. And, to be quite frank, and I didn't really share it to some people who will listen to this, like my family and a lot of my friends. They didn't really know how bad it really got. Like I got to a point where I don't want to continue. I got to a point where I didn't see the point. I didn't see the point in living in a world where, my daughter wasn't here anymore.
Yeah.
Like, why did it have to be so hard? And I felt so lonely. And you had so much going on in the world. And I'm sensitive, and I feel it. And everything was so hopeless.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I know. I think, I know. It, even with my personal journey, I kind of want to go back to where if you don't work on what you're going through in a positive way, it's going to seep out in a negative way. And there's so many people out there who are afraid to go to therapy because they're afraid to relive whatever moment you've been through. But you have to understand that while you may not be talking about it in therapy, in a place where you can talk to someone who's not going to judge you, everyone else feels it, even if you're trying to hide it. And that's why I'm such an advocate for mental health, because, and like you even said, you're like, you can go into your therapist and you can fake it. You can fake it as much as you want. But the good therapist is going to get underneath, I mean, all therapists are great. Thank you for what you do. However, there's a fearlessness that a therapist has to have when, having a client.
You have to find the right therapist for you. You have to find the therapist that's going to push you and not one that you can, it's just like it's any kind of relationship. It's a different, you need to have that right relationship with your
Exactly.
therapist. And I had the relationship with the one therapist that it was easy. It wasn't one that was like pushing me to grow. And it's just like, I think there's, you can have friends like that around you that they don't push you, they don't challenge you. And then you can have friendships around you that they push you, they challenge you, they'll call you on your BS. And you kind of need a therapist that will do that too.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to say that I was your therapist, but I will say, I want to reflect back on the day that I met you.
Yeah.
I was going to have you tell the story, but I feel like it feels so much better from me.
I would love to hear your, because I know mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I know your story. You thought that I was looking at you because, like, there's this woman who's in here, maybe she's not doing the exercises the right way and she's in the back, but that's not. I literally looked up, and this is where things get really weird with me, where people don't understand. I don't like to consider myself an empath, but I definitely consider myself a person of energy. And I've taught tens of thousands of classes, and I always go into a space doing two things. One, I'm like, what is the common denominator in this room of the need in this room? Because I'm like, that's how I can teach. I can assess within 15 seconds how a room is going to move. And then I assess the energy. And then when I'm assessing the energy, my focus goes, I just know, I just feel it. And I think you were literally right here, but like in the back. And I was like, she's releasing something and I don't know what it is. And then now I'll let you continue the story from there.
Yeah. So that was April 8th of 2018. It was
3 months.
3 months and 1 day after Jordan had passed away. And so the day before the event, I was just like, I'm not going tomorrow. Like, I don't feel good. Like, I'm just not feeling it. Like, I was like, I don't have any reason to be there. Like, I've never done a Shaun T workout. Like, he's for fit people. I'm like, there's no reason. I don't need to be there. I don't really need his book. Like,
You're like, why?
I like to follow him on social media. Like, he's great, but like, I don't really feel like driving all the way to Portland. It's like an hour drive, for me. And I'm like, like, I just don't feel like being in a room of like all these people. And then as the night progressed, I was like, well, we'll see how I feel in the morning. Like, maybe it would be good for me. Cause I always he is a positive people. And I think I was watching your socials like that night. And I'm like, well, it probably would. I think you were doing like the training the day before.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Actually, it might be good to be like surrounded by all these positive people and this positive energy, instead of just sitting at home. What else are you going to do? Sit at home all day? And so I went with my friends my friend was the one who was like, oh my gosh, I love Shaun T. And so I was like, well, I'll go. And so I went and I just was like, you said something at the beginning of the workout and you're like, this workout has nothing to do with me. It's just about you. Like, you do you, this is about you. And I was like, all right, and I am short. I'm only 5'3". So I'm in the back. There's 800 people. I could barely see the stage. And so I'm trying to follow the moves. And I'm like, you know what? I don't really know the moves, but I'll try to follow along. Doesn't matter. Like, I'm just going to feel like the energy. I'm just going to release. Like, I'm having a good time. Like, I haven't had a lot to be like, happy and positive about, but I'm just going to let this energy flow through me and just have a good time. And, I remember you're like, the girl in the back in the teal pants. And I'm looking around going, oh, he sees somebody back here. Who's he looking at? And I'm looking. I'm like, not somebody around here. And I kept moving. And you're like, the girl in the back in the teal pants and the gray shirt. And I'm like, who's she talking to? She's not figuring, oh, it's me. And I look up and you're pointing right at me like, dingbat, I'm talking to you. And I was like, you're living your best life. And I just remember oh, he has no idea. But yes, in this very moment, I am not the grieving mother. I am not anything else but living my best life in this very moment. And it felt so good to be seen. There's such power in just being seen in a moment, especially when it's just such a powerful moment like that. yes, I am. Just like in this moment, I am living my best life. And I can be something more than a grieving mother. Like, and I think I held on to that. And I need you to know how much I held on to that in some dark times. So thank you for that.
And I love you.
Love you.
And I'm proud of
And
you.
there's so many more moments that we've had, but
Yeah,
that one, like, I need you to know, like, I've held on to that because there's power in like people seeing you, you know, and yeah. Anyways,
And I saw you.
You
and I
did.
felt you more than
did.
anything. I
and
felt you.
thankfully I finally figured it out because I was like, who is he talking to?
Yeah, I would have let you know. No, it could have took 3 minutes. I still would have let you know. I would have probably eventually gotten off.
Yeah.
Did I get off stage and come back to you? I didn't.
No.
I probably would have if
Yeah.
you hadn't acknowledged me.
Yeah.
So I will say, you know, we went through your journey of the years, and like year 1 was hard, year 2 was hard, year 3 was the toughest. But you had met me, you had that experience just 3 months after. But there were some incredible things that you did in those 3 years. And one was, well, first of all, you finally did a Shaun T workout at
Yes.
home.
Yeah.
But you never thought you could. And then you did Transform 20 and you completed the program.
did.
But what did you call your own personal challenge? What was it?
I believe in me challenge. So after I came to the transformation weekend,
So my transformation weekends is when we have, I think it was about 10 people come, and we just do a full comprehensive transformation from fitness to mindset to more fitness to hiking. But I think most importantly, what I love about whether it's my events or the transformation weekends is seeing people connect and build relationships,
Yeah.
because you can't go at it alone. And so for me, that's kind of like the foundation of that.
yeah.
So
from the Transformation Center weekend, I remember you gave us like the Book of Good. And so on the plane ride home, I decided to just kind of journal and all my thoughts and kind of brain dump everything. And one thing I was like, okay, what is something that I want to do? And well, I wrote several things that I wanted to do. And one, funnily enough, was being invited on your podcast someday. So thank
was
you.
it in there?
Yes.
Oh.
Like someday, like, and so I've had that on my like vision board forever. But then it was like, I want to finish all of Shaun T's workouts. Like I finally have finished one. Like I want to go back and do all of them. And so I kind of wrote it out and I had my whole calendar. And so now I can say I've done them all. Like I went through and I did them all. I did Insanity. I did T25. I mean, you name it, I've done it. And I am like so proud of myself that I didn't, because I used to look at it and say, before like I ever connected with you and before that day in like 2018, it was like, no, I can't do a Shaun T workout. Like that's for fit people.
Yeah.
Only fit people do Shaun T workouts. Insanity, not for me. And to say like, yeah, I have completed Insanity. I was like 260 pounds at the time, like, and I did it, might have had to modify some moves, might have had to do whatever I had to do it, but I did it and I completed it. And, so I have done them all. Haven't finished Dig Deeper yet, but I will.
That's all right. You did something else during this process that I think deserves like some kudos, and that is you quit smoking. Like
I did. Jordan had always wanted me to quit smoking. And so about 6 months after she passed away, I was going to Indianapolis for Summit, and it was just a trip, and I knew I was going with a bunch of people who are not smokers, going to be surrounded by people. And so I think I just kind of put it in my head, like, I'm going to go on this trip and I'm going to come back a non-smoker. Like I kind of put it in my head months before. I just started thinking about it because I can't tell you the number of times I tried to quit.
Yeah.
And I do try, because as a smoker, you try to quit and you tell everybody, oh yeah, I'm going to try to quit on Monday. I'm going to try to quit on Monday. And by Tuesday, you're buying a pack of smokes, or you might make it a week and then, you have a stressful day and you go buy a pack of smokes. And I think when you put try, you give yourself that out, like, well, I tried, but I didn't make it. And so this time I just kind of kept it quiet. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't make a big deal about it. And it was like, I didn't put try in there. I'm going to go on this trip and I'm coming back a non-smoker. And so, yeah, I flew out there. I only had like 10 cigarettes with me. I still remember the bench. I have pictures of me on that bench. Like the next year, we thankfully went back. And so I had pictures of me on there 1 year later. I had my last cigarette. I didn't tell my friends. I put a patch on. And it wasn't until like 24 hours later, they're like, don't you need you haven't like gone and taken a break or anything. I'm like, no, I'm good. I quit smoking. And they're like, oh, okay. I think they were a little
And
frightened.
most people are like, huh?
I know, they were a little bit frightened, I think, like, are you going to be okay?
When's it going to come out?
Yeah, are you going to be okay? And I was totally fine.
Yeah.
And like, I came home and, I told my ex-husband, and, he was just like, hey, like, I quit smoking. So just so you know, like, don't give me any. And I didn't go to a Minute Mart for like 6 months because I was like, I don't need to go to Minute Mart because that's where smokers go, and I'm not a smoker. Like, it just changed the whole way that I like framed it in my head. Yeah. And yeah, I have not had a cigarette. I haven't had a craving for a cigarette, and it'll be 6 years in June, and I'm so proud of myself.
I'm proud of
like,
you too.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you and other reasons too. So,
Yeah.
I kind of want to get into the celebration of you. You did something really cool last year where you bought some boots.
Yeah.
And you went to the Taylor Swift concert
Yes.
all by yourself.
I did.
Tell me about that, but tell me about it because there's something about you putting on makeup, putting on these shoes that we got made from Vinny.
Yes.
You got made from Vinny, going and doing this all by yourself.
Yeah. For years, I mean, I'm 45 years old, and for, I would say, 40 years, I wouldn't go places by myself. I would need to have a friend come with me, and I could have event scheduled, I could have tickets to someplace, and if a friend bagged out on me, then I wouldn't go, and I'd let the tickets go to waste because I can't go by myself. I don't want to walk into a room on my own. And I don't know, it was just like I didn't feel like I deserved to walk in the room. I think it was just a self-worth. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the self-worth of like, I deserve to be in that room. I deserve to be in this space. And over the last several years, and definitely the last couple years working with my new therapist and going through what I've gone through, I've definitely owned that I deserve to be in any space that I'm in. I deserve to walk into any room that I'm in. And I deserve to take up any space that I want to. And so Taylor Swift tickets went on sale, and I love her, and I didn't know anybody who wanted to go with me, so I bought myself a ticket. I got through the Great War, and I got one originally on sale. I got floor tickets. Of course, once I had my tickets, I'm like, I'm buying myself amazing boots that I've wanted to get. I'm going to put on makeup that I want to wear, and I might look silly to the little teeny boppers as a 45-year-old woman, like jamming out to, but
I don't think
care.
they love everybody.
I deserve to be here just as much as anybody else does, and I had a ball. I had the greatest time, and I plan to go to Taylor Swift in New Orleans for my 46th birthday.
Let's go.
And I have many other concerts that I'm going to, some alone, some with friends, but I know that I can walk into any room and I'm comfortable with who I am today.
So you built a lot of confidence.
I did.
It's incredible. Is there any way that myself or the listeners can help with the Jordan Project?
Yes. So we do have a website, and, we do have a donation.
Yes,
we have a link to donate to us. So currently, we have our project, which is the Beacon, which is, that's our longest running project, and it's a weekly support for youth. We have other projects that are in the works. We have the Katie Fund, which that is a fund that is in honor of one of our previous youth and named after her. But we use that for youth that may need help getting like their ID card, or may need help getting because without their ID card, they can't get their medical card, or they can't get certain services. And some of these youth, they don't have a family support like my daughter did. Their family might have their own addiction or mental health issues. And so we try to support these youth with getting those things so that they can get their own services, or they can get, they might need a bus pass, they might need stuff. So that Katie Fund allows us to give those youth that stuff. So people can donate and say, hey, I want this to go to the Katie Fund, or hey, I want this to, help support, the Beacon.
You'll give us the link, or is there a link?
There's a website. We have our website, and there's a link
What's
on
the
our
website?
The Jordan Project CC.
Yes. Aliza, thank you.
Thank you.
So much for being so brave and, selfless to come on and explain and just share your story with me and everyone else. And when we come back, our teachable moments are going to be dedicated to helping people who are suffering from substance use and suicide prevention. We'll be right back. Welcome to the Teachable Moments segment of the show. Listening to Aliza's heartfelt journey, it's important to address the sobering realities of both substance abuse and suicide, along with the impacts it can have on families and communities. We understand this is a sensitive topic, but awareness is crucial because it can save lives. In 2021, nearly 46 million people 12 or older were classified as having a substance use disorder. This represents over 16% of the population in that age group, and the impact among young adults aged 18 to 25. Additionally, suicide rates have increased significantly, with over 49,000 lives lost in 2022 alone. It's the leading cause of death amongst people ages 10 to 64, showing its impact across all ages. Prevention from both substance abuse and harming oneself involves fostering community connections, enhancing coping skills, and providing effective ongoing support. By acknowledging its impact and planning safety interventions, we can significantly reduce these risks. As we see through Aliza's story, coping with this type of grief is an ongoing challenge. Let's begin discussing some essential prevention strategies and ways to cope with the grief that follows such a profound loss. Dealing with a suicide loss involves navigating a range of intense emotions, and it's important to allow personal grieving processes to unfold naturally and seek support from understanding networks. Moving past guilt and focusing on healing are vital steps in this journey. And let's not forget the importance of support networks. Strong community and professional support networks are crucial for overcoming grief. Participating in therapeutic activities and maintaining daily routines can also aid in recovery. Initiatives like the Jordan Project, which Aliza co-founded, offer specific support for youth dealing with similar challenges, further enhancing community support and healing. As we wrap up this episode, let's reflect on the powerful message of hope and strength Aliza has shown us. Her transformation from great despair to becoming a source of strength for herself when she needed it most and even others is a powerful testament to someone's spirit. We've shared some difficult truths today, but with the right support and strategies, there is hope. If you or someone you know is struggling, remember help is available 24/7 through the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Call, text, or chat online. Trained crisis counselors are there to provide confidential, free support. Let's work together to bring light into the darkest of times and support each other through every step of the healing process. Stay strong, stay inspired, continue to trust and believe in the power of transformation. Thank you so much for joining, and take care of yourself. My name is Shaun T. Peace out.